All right, the monsters of the Midway. So I was doing a little deep dive Chicago Bears research these last couple of days because you assigned me the Bears a couple of days ago.
Yes.
And we know the main needs of this squad. The offensive line, protect your quarterback. They've done a good job of boosting that up.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking Ashton Jeanty because Ben Johnson, we've seen him before in Detroit with the 2 running back look. It can't hurt in today's NFL. Take some weight off DeAndre Swift's shoulders. Most backs I feel like are committees now. But I'm going with the other side of the ball on defense. Because this defensive line, in terms of getting to a quarterback, also struggled a bit last year too. You bring in there's Montez Sweat, and I think he needs a running mate. So I'm going to go with the B set of Texas A&M and say the Bears are going to take Shemar Stewart and pair him up along Montez Sweat. I mean, this guy is a freak athlete, has all the traits. He's strong, athletic, and the build to be a very good defensive player in the pros for a long time. Might be a bit of a reach. I think the Bears have done a good job on offense, building around Caleb, helping to protect him, and now on defense in terms of getting to the other quarterback. I like Shemar Stewart.
So Jack,
he's a midway monster.
Can you help me out here for a second? So Shemar Stewart's supposed to be the freak that's going to come and help the Bears defense, right?
He's a midway monster.
He played 31 games in college. Do you know how many sacks he had in 31 games in college, starting every single one of those 31 games? Total. We're talking total number of sacks.
So let me hear it.
4.5. That's not 4.5 a season. That's 1.5 a season.
He looks pretty good to me. Ziggy.
How many tackles for loss did he have over his entire career? This guy is supposed to be an elite run stopper and a guy that can get after the quarterback. 12.
All right. Well, this
guy produced absolutely Packers fans who are sitting back here. They've heard this story before. This defensive lineman who's an athletic freak. He's got all the traits in the world, but did absolutely nothing in college. He's going to be the guy to transfer.
Yeah, when you're the only guy.
Why is Shemar Stewart different?
When you're being blocked by 4 people on the O-line, you have no one else around you. Now pair him up with
they skirt. Nick skirt.
And now you pair him up with Montez Sweat. It's a different story. Shemar Stewart's the guy to stop on Texas A&M.
I think that Shemar Stewart, the Bears need edge rushing help for sure. I agree with you as that being one of the needs. I think Shemar Stewart would be a reach there to me. He's again, that's what everyone says, the physical specimen part. And I agree. I'm cool with drafting physical specimens on the D-line. I think I said on our last show, Daniil Hunter, when the Vikings drafted him, that was awesome because he was someone that you could hand over to the defense and to the coordinator and say, mold him how you want. And those guys sometimes turn into freaks. But that was a 3rd round pick. That wasn't at pick 10. And the more I'm listening about what's going on in Chicago and hearing Ben Johnson talk and just reading different media people, I think it's going to be on the offensive side of the ball. And this is a good draft to do that too, because we've talked about the depth along the defensive line in this draft class. You'll be able to build up there. I think it's going to be one of 3 dudes. It's going to be Jeanty, it's going to be Will Cambpell, or it's going to be Tyler Warren. Those are the 3 names that I think are in play for the Chicago Bears. I think Shemar Stewart is like a fun prospect, but I'd be really surprised if it wasn't one of those 3.
Jeanty seems to be the favorite.
If he makes it there.
If he makes it there, yeah. I've seen a lot of people, he's on the board at 10, saying the Bears will take Jeanty.
Well, you're anti-running back.
Yeah, I'd rather have a defensive specimen than a running back.
Ziggy, what do you think of those names that I threw out there between Jeanty, Campbell, and Warren? Do you like that philosophy that I'm going with?
I really don't like Tyler Warren as a pick. The first tight end taken in a draft, really tight ends taken in a 1st round, are basically always terrible. If you go back the past, say, decade and a half in the NFL draft, we're going to set... last year was obviously an exception. Nobody's saying the Raiders made the wrong pick there. But besides him, no tight end taken in the 1st round has made a single All-Pro team.
Yeah, but the guy
Only one of them even got a second contract of the team that drafted him.
Heath Miller.
David Njoku.
Njoku's been solid lately.
Njoku's been solid, but are you telling me David Njoku is worth a 1st round pick?
No.
Brock Bowers is what you want him to be. but so many other tight ends taken in the first round have just not been it.
Did you hear?
I don't buy it.
Ben Johnson talking about Tyler Warren. So for Bears fans who are, depends on how you feel about Tyler Warren. Ben Johnson said recently that the Bears front office or all their coaches sat down and reviewed over the top 30 players they were watching tape. And that when Warren came on, Dennis Allen, their defensive coordinator, stood up and said, this guy would be a nightmare to scheme against. He said he'd be an absolute nightmare. You put him in Wildcat. He's a great pass catcher. He blocks like a monster. Tyler Warren's going to be a top 10 pick. That's going to happen, I believe.
I think he's better than the Brock Bowers was. This guy's an animal. Yeah. I remember last year what I said about what's his name?
Dalton Kincaid.
About Dalton Kincaid. How this guy seems to be always so wide open and he's just amazing. Tyler Warren's the new Dalton Kincaid. Tyler Warren's Dalton Kincaid on steroids.
Okay, so Ziggy doesn't like Tyler Warren. As far as Ashton Jeanty goes here, again, Johnson talking about him, he said they were mentioning, Jahmyr Gibbs being a recent pick from a Ben Johnson team to go into the Lions. And Jack, you mentioned a lot of running backs by committee now. Well, that's what the Lions did with Ben Johnson, having Gibbs and David Montgomery. So you have DeAndre Swift right now. What Johnson said he'd be looking for and the way that they evaluated Gibbs was not just as a running back, but really looking at the guy as a weapon.
I don't know what that means.
What do you mean?
Weapon is not a position in football.
I think I know exactly what it means.
Like Debo's a weapon, right?
Well, think of Jahmyr Gibbs.
Debo's a wide receiver who can play running back. Weapon is not a position.
No, a weapon is someone who can make plays with the ball in their hands. Who's explosive.
Here's what you're saying. Jahmyr Gibbs is a good running back.
He's an explosive player who could catch out of the backfield. He can make guys miss yards after the catch there. I think that's what you're looking for when you have a weapon. And Ashton Jeanty, from everything you see and read about him, it looks like he will be a very good weapon in the NFL. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for someone who can make things happen on the field. I want those guys on the field. The words that Ben Johnson used were someone who could strike fear into an opposing defense. That's a weapon. And if you think Ashton Jeanty can do that, then at 10, I don't think it's a horrible move to have more playmakers and guys who can score as soon as they touch the ball.
The pick makes sense. And like what we've seen out of the Lions of Ben Johnson recently too, with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, he likes to do that.
It's just a matter of whether or not he'll be there at 10.
Yeah.
A lot of rumors are the Raiders right now, but I think the Raiders are going to go defense. I'd be surprised if they took Jeanty.
I really don't think he makes sense on the Raiders.
No, neither do I. But so Ziggy, if you were there at 10 then as the Bears, you don't like Tyler Warren, you don't like Jeanty, it sounds like.
I think Genty's not the pick at 10.
Isn't there a big lineman?
Do you have a pick? Is it Campbell?
I'm taking Campbell or I'm taking a guy on the lines.
Or Membu? One of those dudes.
I'm taking Campbell or I'm taking a guy on the lines. It's that simple.
It makes sense too. You have the new revamped offensive line, but you do have guys like Joe Tooney's getting older. Jonah Jackson's coming off injury. You have Braxton Jones, I believe, is going into the last year of his his contract right now. Yeah, so it's like it wouldn't be bad to continue to build along that offensive line for Chicago. But I think that there are a lot of options that the Bears have at 10 here to get an elite player, and I think they're in a great position in this draft. Like it's really cool. Really, throughout the whole NFC North, you're seeing all these teams are pretty complete. And they can use upgrades at certain positions. Every team can. But there's no glaring needs, really, for most of these teams where you're saying, we need to take that or else we're in a ton of trouble heading into the year. And that's an unbelievable position to be in, especially for 4 teams in one division. So there you go, the Chicago Bears. Jack's going with Shemar Stewart. Ziggy and I don't necessarily agree with that. I threw out Will Cambpell, Ashton Jeanty, and Tyler Warren. I don't know. By the way, did you guys see with Will Cambpell? The whole concern about Will Cambpell is his arm length and whether or not he'll be able to play at tackle. Ziggy, you look like you're about to jump when I said that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Well, it's funny. He measured in at like 32 5/8 was his arm length. I don't realize how important like the arm length is to people.
Well,
I mean, I know it's important.
It's not actually. It doesn't correlate with NFL success.
32
arm length
what?
Doesn't do that. It's a myth.
32
I mean,
what?
teams draft based on this, like they draft on 40 times, but who cares?
Arm length at 33 seems to be the magic
33
number here for
inches?
tackles. 33 inches for arm length. And
I'll show you what else would be.
Will Campbell, 30. Will Campbell measured in at 32 and 5/8, and then at his pro day measured in at 33. So he wound up hitting the mark. And then so we'll see if people wind up freaking out over that and having him slide. Maybe he's better positioned to be a guard in the NFL. I just say watch the tape and see what happens.